And now to 7 up front tonight and the new push to change Michigan's civil justice system for sexual assault. A package of 3 bills would expand the statute of limitations for filing claims and, quote, allow justice for all survivors. Joining us live tonight to help walk us through the legislation is State Representative Kelly Breen, a Democrat from Novi, who's a co-sponsor for these bills. Thank you for being with us tonight, Kelly.
Thanks so much for having me.
So can you give us the key points and tell us why Michigan needs this change?
So the bill package itself is designed to extend the statute of limitations to allow survivors of criminal sexual conduct and a sexual assault to find some justice. And we are unfortunately very familiar with headlines surrounding sexual misconduct and assault by trusted medical professionals. Only just this past January was a settlement reached between the University of Michigan and the 1,000+ survivors of the late Dr. Robert Anderson, who's a university physician who was accused of sexual assault against hundreds of students, some of which I have met myself. And he was a university health services doctor. He was moved to the athletic department in the 1980s after credible reports of misconduct. And this physician worked at the university for over 22 years, and only now are his survivors being heard. Now, the amount of time that has passed after a crime does not negate the fact that the crime was committed. So these bills do require, to be very clear, these bills do require some additional work to balance the scales of justice, but these are part of the conversation to help make a safer Michigan and to bring some justice to survivors. It's not an indictment of our good institutions. It's about continuing the conversation. And we want to make sure that institutions are held accountable. We want to make sure that individuals themselves who had nothing to do with the behavior are not innocently targeted in this aspect. But we do need people to be held accountable for what they've done and to bring some justice to these survivors.
And those high-profile cases that you referenced really got a lot of our hearts and minds going around this. Do you think the legislation will have enough support to become law? And what will you do to convince your colleagues that it should be approved?
Well, we do need to do some work on this. We do. And the purpose of the statute of limitations here in Michigan in general is to ensure that there's prompt prosecution and to spare the accused the burden of having to defend against stale charges after memories have faded or after evidence is lost. And to that, I do have some significant concerns. The retention policies or laws pertaining to retention practices at different institutions or medical providers are different. So it's not fair to have somebody accused of something decades after, necessarily, if the evidence is destroyed. But this is, again, part of an ongoing conversation. So I'm hoping that with some bipartisan support and push, perhaps it's not even going to be this package, but a modified one, I am optimistic that we will be able to do what we need to do in order to help the survivors of these horrible crimes.
Well, we certainly appreciate your time tonight. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you so much for following the story.
Okay. Dave.